Hey, this is Kirk.
And this is Byrd. It's our Super Bowl special. We may not say the word Super Bowl anymore after this. We just may call it the big game. But we're excited to have two special guests on the Kirk and Byrd show. We've got your man, Sean Spencer from Let's Talk Football. He's been a guest up here before. He knows his NFL football. He happens to be a fan of the Washington Redskins, Washington football team. Commander. Oh, is it
Commodore's brick house.
No, it's the Commander.
Oh, it's the Commodore. She's a brick. All right.
You're right. It's the Commodore.
All right.
And he's dressed as like. And we also have a dude I'm a little bit familiar with. I've only known him since day one. It's my son, but the biggest. Seriously, this kid knows more about NFL football than anybody I know. Like, he studies it like I wish he had studied his algebra. But this dude knows NFL big time. And Cameron Byrd, former high school football player, track, cross-country athlete, is actually a Cincinnati Bengals fan. And this is no joke, y'all. He'll explain a little more. But even 5 years ago, when we would talk to friends and people say, "Hey, who's your team?" and he would go, "The Bengals." And we would go like, "The Bengals? Why?" Like it wasn't even like they were great. I mean, they had Marvin Lewis. Look, I'm talking too much, y'all, already. But we're here. We're proud to have Cameron Byrd as a part of the show as we preview the big game. All right, before we get directly into the big game, we talked about this before, like we've had some amazing playoff weekends. So let's go ahead and cover. Kirk, why don't you lead us with the discussion on the first one that may not have surprised a lot of people, but the NFC, the Rams versus the 49ers. What are your takes on that, Kirk? And then Sean, you take it. And then you both.
My takes are Cameron gets his looks from his mom, first of all. But I Rusty, Cameron, and Sean, that was a good game. You know, it didn't come right down to the wire like the previous week. That previous weekend was the best weekend of football in my life. And we're talking about 70s, 80s. But
he's talking about years, y'all, not age of 70. Not 70.
Right, the 1970s, 80s. But
we were alive in the 70s.
Right. The NFC Championship, I think the Rams were somewhat lucky to get out of that with a victory. San Francisco very well could have won that. As you probably noticed, Sean and Cameron, Matt Stafford was a little bit off. He was a little bit hurt because he missed some throws. And, our good friend Tony Kennedy from Virginia Tech played practice squad with Dallas Cowboys. He picked the LA Rams and the Chargers. So he's proud that, and by the way, he's on his way out there. But, so that sets up, I think, LA at SoFi. It sets up a good game. And I just felt that game could have gone either way. And, the Rams did win, and they're impressive.
Yeah. The Rams had it. I mean, not the Rams. The 49ers had it.
Exactly.
14-7. But one of the things that I always kind of hard press on is that it's very hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. The 49ers crushed the Rams the first time. And the 49ers, they almost didn't make it to the playoffs. They had that last game up against the Rams where they were down 17-0 at the half. The 49ers came back and won that game. So it's very hard to beat a team 3 times in a row. Glad for Matthew Stafford. My fiance is from Detroit, Michigan. So this is kind of the closest that they're going to get to a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But she actually called it a year ago once the trade happened. She called it and said, he's going to take his team to the Super Bowl this next year. And we're all like, really? And it happened. It happened. But you can't take anything away from Deebo Samuel. They ran through him. He was the one that brought them to the dance, and they did everything with him. And it was sad to see him at the end of the game because he left it all out there on the field. I even think that it gave a little more credibility to Jimmy G. If he's healthy, he can play. He can do it. He's not going to do it all the time, but
Make some money.
Yeah, I'd be very interested to see. I really, shout out to the Rams. I'm glad they got it. That's who I picked. But I mean, it was still a great game. And then to come down to the fourth quarter like it did, that was what's up. I like that.
Cameron, are you like your dad where you tape everything and watch it at 3 o'clock in the morning, or did you watch the game?
I am different. I watched the game with him, and then I kind of watched the full game later on the week, like once it posts out on YouTube.
So kind of like your dad, kind of like
if I say we're watching a game, he'll have to watch it tape. But if I'm not around, he watches them live. And I just, in my old age and all the things that happen, I can't watch a game live anymore. I can't sit through commercials and punts. So I just have a whole formula of recording it, and then I get through my games in like 35 minutes. But
So, Cameron, what's your thoughts? I mean, what do you think about that game? It was a very good game, and as Sean said, anybody could have won it.
Yes, I also think going on with Matthew Stafford's injury, he did look like he did threw a couple balls that were that were not catchable. But also Jimmy G, he didn't play as good as he did against the Packers. So I think that was another key point as well on the game.
Yeah, I think the 49ers and they've beaten the Rams consistently or the last few times they played them, but I see now why Trey Lance was drafted. I mean, I wondered this year, like, well, why hasn't he played? But I mean, they know what, maybe he was at a smaller school. He only really started for a little over a year. But it also could be the Patrick Mahomes process of giving him a year to sit back, learn what's going on, and then he take the reins next year. Look, Jimmy G did as well as he could probably do. And let me just say this, as well as a lot of people could do against that defense. That defense is tough. So that's going to cause a lot of problems. And so let's go ahead on over to the AFC.
Who they?
Bengals.
Who had this pick? Who picked this game? Like, I'm sure most people thought the Chiefs.
I picked the Chiefs.
Sean, we'll start with you, Sean. Who did you think? What did you think?
I picked the Chiefs. And in the first half,
looking pretty good.
It was 23-3. I was sitting there like, this is what they do. We are who we thought. And they balled out. But I got to say, and Cameron, I know you were excited about this. Right before the half, the Chiefs went to put in the jugular. It went to take him out. And when Tyreek Hill got stopped at the 1 yard line, you want to talk about momentum. I was just, wait a minute. But still, nothing prepared me. Nothing I've seen from the Chiefs defense this year, nothing I've seen from them in the regular season prepared me for how they shut down Mahomes in the second half. I mean, what happened?
They dropped, it was interesting. They did what you would assume a lot of teams would do, which is they dropped 8. They got pressure with 3.
Yeah.
Now, if you could get pressure with 4, usually that's cool, but they got pressure with 3. And I think Patrick did his whole, I'm going to just start scrambling for the sake of scrambling stuff a few too many times, like they, you know what? They covered deep and they said, if you're going to beat us, you got to beat us underneath, short, quick though. Like, he could have benefited from just playing like Joe Montana and just keep hitting people underneath on slants, make them come up, then he could go behind them,
Yep.
If anybody could play like Joe Montana, I think they'd be in pretty good shape.
There you go.
So on to the big game. So I'm gonna surprise you, Rusty, because we talk every day. But Cameron, I mean, what's your thoughts? We're talking, what are we on, Thursday? The build-up's big, and I texted Sean and said, do we have any injuries? Everybody seems to be pretty healthy. With you being the Bengals aficionado, what are your thoughts, 3 days from now at 6:30 or less than 3 days?
So actually there was one injury earlier in the week, CJ Uzama. I think he's back on the lineup, but I would say I'm going with the Bengals, strong with the Bengals because it proved to me a lot. They proved a lot during the Chiefs game that I haven't seen them do in a while. So I definitely go for the Bengals on that one. On the
Okay.
Super Bowl.
You know, I'll say this. One of the takeaways I have is, you know, none of us saw the Bengals coming.
No.
Really, nobody saw this coming. But one thing I would say is, to me, the strongest conference in football was the NFC West. You know, they had Seattle, who's normally good, but they were down. But, you know, you have the Rams, you had the Cardinals, and you had the 49ers, right? So that was a difficult conference. And
Seattle too.
Yeah.
in Seattle, I started with Seattle. So three
Oh,
of those teams made the playoffs, okay? 3 of those teams, and they were really, that was a tough conference to get through. And if you think about it, although the Ravens were down and the Cleveland didn't live up to what they were supposed to get through the AFC, what is that? The AFC North?
Yeah.
Very good conference.
You gotta be a good team, man. You gotta play, even if you win, even if Baltimore's down a little bit, even if Cleveland didn't do as expected, part of the reason they didn't do as expected is because of Cincinnati is on the come up, because the Steelers still know how to whip that brown butt. And you know, and so and yeah, Cleveland, you know, they're just starting to go back to being just the Browns. But I think having survived that conference, I'm sure, you know, they were confident, even though we didn't know, or I still can't name 3 people on their defense, that they were actually tuning up for this postseason by playing in that conference.
Like, a lot of people definitely underestimated them. And hey, the beginning of the season, they were picked last in the conference. And I don't think any of us outside of you, Cameron, I don't think any of us would have questioned them being, you know, last, as was to be expected. But for them to make it the way that they have, you got the award shows on right now. Joe Burrow got comeback player of the year. Jamar Chase got rookie of the year. These guys have balled out. I was one of those that said in the draft they needed to go lineman. I was proven wrong. I'm glad I was proven wrong. I got the Rams myself. I think they put it all together for 1 year, and that's going to be it. But
you know what? Yeah, they went all out. I mean, they traded everything, but they did what Tampa did last year.
Right.
They put an all-star team together.
So there's basically a big 4, but a big 5, and I want to get our guests their views on this. The 2 quarterbacks, Matt Stafford, Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, Cooper Kupp, and then maybe a little bit of space is Aaron Donald. But Cameron, your thoughts on, you're big on the Bengals. Joe Burrow is special. I think that year that he had sitting and halfway injured was actually part of why he's so successful. What are your thoughts on the quarterback matchup, Cameron?
I was going to do that. Let's go by matchups. Yeah.
So I watched when I was back in college. I watched a little bit of Matthew Stafford's highlights and everything with Calvin Johnson and everybody on the team, and he looked pretty good. Like the team struggled in the playoffs a lot. But I knew this year Joe Burrow, like his confidence. I actually, before this show, I watched his show that he had when he came back from his knee injury, his pretty terrible knee injury. And it was just like, wow, like this whole year, he's kind of just kept it cool, lost, you know, against the Jets. And, but then he just came back the next week and played again and played well. So, and then the same thing with the playoffs as well. I think they think the 2.
So thanks, Kim. So if we go on match, like right now, who has the edge in quarterback play?
Matthew Stafford.
You think so?
Oh, a big Bengals guy saying Stafford. Okay. All right. I agree.
It's not that Joe Burrow has played like out of this world, but he's a leader. He's gotten it done on a lot of different levels. Clearly at LSU, that was the greatest college football team of all time. But I think we may, and I'm not the first to say this, we might be seeing, like we saw with early Tom Brady, like we might be seeing one of the greatest ever, you know, get it done. And so I actually think if I'm going quarterback for quarterback, and we're going 2 number 1 overall draft picks, I'm going to go with Joe Burrow. I think Bengals have the quarterback edge. And then and I'll let you guys say, Neil, let's go ahead and let's quickly hit maybe running backs, receivers, and then overall defense.
Okay.
Sean?
Yeah.
Sean, why don't you hit Cooper Kupp, Jamar Chase, because Cooper Kupp and both Jamar Chase is like both of those guys are unbelievable.
Yeah, I'm going to go Kupp. Anytime you use a triple crown winner as a wide receiver, potentially in that VP category, I think you need to be praised. You need to be loved. I can't take anything away from Jamar Chase. He has been balling out, and after he got over that, the drop issues that he had early in the season, I mean, he's unguardable. He's unstoppable. You know what I mean? But I'm going with Cooper Kupp, and it's very close. You know what I mean? But Cooper Kupp just being so consistent. I think he had maybe 2 or 3 games this year where he didn't have over 100 yards. He averaged like $120. So, yeah, I'm going Cooper Kupp on that one.
No, so and my thoughts on that are this. One, with those 2 athletes at receiver, what I think you might have actually is Cooper Kupp could actually legitimately have a running, should be in the running for NFL offensive player of the year. Like,
Yeah,
honestly,
I was gonna say the same thing, Rusty.
Overall offensive player of the year, while Jamar Chase should be probably, unless somebody's going Micah Parsons, I think
Rookie
should be the offensive rookie of the year if they do an offense and defense. So you're talking about 2 potential player of the year candidates. And I think so they're outstanding, but I think so they'll kind of cancel each other out. Where I think the advantage goes is to the Rams when you have your number 2 being Odell Beckham Jr. And he's saying all the right things. He's running the right routes. He's not causing any drama. Like, he's Antonio Brown last year. Like, this is my chance. I'm not gonna act a fool. I'm gonna come in here. I'm gonna do my job. And I want to prove the Browns wrong. Like Antonio wanted to, prove, hey, to the Steelers, to the Patriots, to the Raiders, I am going to do this. Now, next year, I don't know what OBJ is going to do because he's going to be in LA. He might have a Super Bowl ring. He might lose his mind. But for right now, I'm going to give the edge to them, and I'm going to transition us. And you can touch on these, Kirk, but I'm going to say Rams have the passing game, but I'm going to give the running game edge to the Bengals.
Well, I was like, you're nailing it, because, I was at the basketball game and I was studying while I was, I called a few people and I'm looking at all the news. Odell Beckham Jr. is going to get a chance to shine because they are going to double team and they're going to put that safety over there and they're going to say, he's not beating us. That dig route, that he ran where he killed that team. So I think Odell Beckham is that to me, and I want to get from you guys, what's your key to the game? So my key to the game for the Bengals to win is, can they shut down Kupp? And if they can, who's going to step up? That's my key to the game. That's going to be the difference. And I'd be interested in hearing everybody else's. Why don't you go, Cameron?
I also think, going along with Cooper Kupp, I also think Aaron Donald as well, and Von Miller and Jalen Ramsey. If the Bengals can figure out how to run the ball consistently and pass to Jamar Chase or T. Higgins or Tyler Boyd a little bit, I think they'll be able to win the game as well. With those 3 receivers and a good running back.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I have so far, we'll let Sean maybe break some of this time. So right now, I've got defense and receivers going to the Rams. I've got quarterback, running game going to the Bengals. All right. Sean, can you maybe elaborate on those? But I think there's 2 other areas we need to discuss to maybe break the tie or continue to be a tie. Who's going to have the stronger special teams game? And then to me, what I think is going to be the difference in this game is going to be coaches.
Yeah.
McVay has been there and he did it, with the less, let's just say not as good of a quarterback. Not the staff is great, but he got them there. And clearly, he knows how to coach quarterbacks. He's been in this situation. I think coaching is going to put them over the edge. I don't know if Zach Taylor's going to, this is his first time there, but your thoughts on those things, Sean?
Yeah, no, if we're going special teams, I give the edge to Cincinnati. That boy McPherson in the last 2 games has been 4 for 4 for field goals, hitting game winners. Like he's doing that. And I agree with the running game going to Cincinnati. People really underestimate how good Joe Mixon is.
Yeah.
Joe is at running back. And the other part about that is on the flip side, you have a three-headed running back, but each one of those guys, with the exception of maybe Sony Michel, Darrell Henderson just coming back off injury, and then you also have Cam Akers, who had that nasty injury, came back off of that. Sony Michel has been here, and at the end of the day, I think, like you're saying with McVay, muscle memory. That's what I touted when I picked the Chiefs. Sorry, I was wrong. But they have been in the AFC Championship the last 4 years. They know what to do. I think that's what got them over against Buffalo. So muscle memory, having McVay having been here and having Donald and some of those guys having been here a couple years ago, they kind of know what to expect as opposed to Joe Byrd, kind of like, this is the Super Bowl, bright lights type deal. I think he's still going to shine, but I think it might be a little bit too much for him.
Cameron, do you think it's going to make any difference? Is there going to be any advantage to the fact that the Rams are playing at home in their home stadium?
I think it's more pressure on them that they're playing at home and everything.
I like that. I like that.
The only other time it's happened was Tampa Bay, and they won last year. You're right. That's a good point about potentially being pressure because they are at home. Yeah. Typically, those tickets are bought well in advance. Some people have bought their tickets for the Super Bowl well in advance. They're not even necessarily the fans of the teams there. You might buy your tickets 5 years in advance, but that there's still going to be a lot of people there that are there for their team. It could, in some way you could think, oh, they're comfortable. It's their home environment, blah, blah, blah. But you're right. That's a great point. There could be more pressure on them to get it done, especially with them being the favorite.
Yeah.
Real quick, I was just going to say, there's a lot more trouble to get into in Los Angeles than Tampa. So, and we know what's happened Super Bowl week. So, we want to cover some other topics, some great topics that you came up with, Rusty. But all right, so
hold on. So we've said this. So if we're going special teams Bengals, quarterback, running back Bengals, but Rams were giving the edge to the defense, the receivers, and the coach. Now, let's get some predictions.
Oh, I'm going to charge you with grand larceny because that's what I was about to say, okay?
Oh.
All right. So, Rusty, you follow on. You're a few months older than me, but let's go to who the pick is, okay?
I'm not going first since I took your little thunder.
No, you set it up. You didn't steal my thunder. You're showing your brilliance. You're thinking like
Sean, you do it. You got it.
Sean, who you like, Sean?
You're a better host than us anyway.
Yeah.
I think the X factor, I think we have to go back to home field advantage because if we remember that San Francisco game, the big thing was that there was a lot of fans from San Francisco who made it almost like a sea of red in that fan group. So I think Cincinnati, they have every other fan that's not a Lions fan or not a Rams fan. So, but I still got the Rams. I got Rams 34-17 MVP Cooper Kupp.
Okay. Wait, hold. I'm writing this down. Okay.
Yeah.
Rams 34-17. So
you don't need to write it down. It's on video, old man. Come on.
Who's gonna scroll through this? Look, hold on. No, because we're gonna put this on Twitter. All right, and we're gonna have a poll. Who's right? We want people to vote.
All right.
We get the right prediction. Now hold on. So I will say this for our people that like to go to DraftKings and all that stuff. It's the spread is the Rams by 4.5. Yeah. So now hold on. You've told us who you think is going to win. Sean, you know how we like to do this. You told us who you think is going to win, and clearly you think they'll win over the spread. But who do you want to win? Like, is there a story here that you would like to see?
So, yeah, like I said a year ago, my darling fiance called it. She sat there and said, once he left the accursed Lions, the next team, he's going to take him to the Super Bowl. He's that good. It came to fruition. We have the clip. I'll share that with you guys a little bit later. So I kind of, when you have a significant other, you kind of couple on a lot of the things, So as you know, I'm Washington and I'm North Carolina. Well, she's from Michigan, so she's Michigan State, and she used to love Michigan. Beat them both in basketball national championships. And also, the farthest Lions have ever gotten was to the NFC Championship in '91, and we beat them 41-10. You know,
right.
so I kind of do feel bad. I'm jumping on the Rams thing with her. Matthew Stafford, I just think it's redemption. He just needs it. And to your point about Joe Burrow and the Bengals, honestly, I don't know if I can call it yet, but I think they're the new Chiefs. You know, we've seen the Chiefs get to the top and put the performance they put in last year into the Super Bowl and not make it this year. I think the Bengals, with how they're young, if they get an O-line to protect Joe Burrow,
Yeah.
watch out. But I got Rams.
All right,
Okay.
Cameron, talk to us.
Okay, so I think, and actually Zach Taylor was in the Super Bowl with Sean McVay back with the Patriots. So he was the quarterback's coach for Jared Goff. So he was in the Super Bowl. So he does have some experience with that loss. So I think they have an edge a little bit, especially with their young quarterback, Joe Burrow, and only in the second year. I think if I go back, Mahomes won it in his second year after he threw 50 touchdowns his first year.
Right.
Which set an NFL record for a rookie quarterback. So I like Matthew Stafford. I like the Rams defense, but I think it's Joe Burrow's time.
All right.
All right. Good
All right.
stuff, baby Byrd. All right. What's the score?
The score. Okay. I have it in the four, and actually I have it in overtime. I'll make it a little interesting. I have it in overtime, tied up at 20, and McPherson kicks the three pointer for
Okay.
23-20.
There's a huge for if you pick McPherson to be the MVP, it's like plus.
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah.
It happened.
All right.
Kirk.
Now, age before beauty. You're older and I'm better looking. You go.
All right, I'll go. This is easy. No, it's not easy. To be honest, okay, so I'm gonna go this way. I like it. The good thing is I don't have much vested. I don't like or dislike either team. I do like Joe Burrow. He, to me, and I've heard, I'm not stealing this from Bomani Jones, but he's like, that's my white Mike. Like Joe Burrow, you know that brother is just down. I heard he was a basketball player back in the day. So if he's been playing AAU basketball with the brothers, you know, he's just cool. I mean, like, he's got a smoothness to him. So that's like white Mike, you know. And
White Mike, hold on. White Mike is Travis Kelce.
Well, yeah, that is. And
he was saying, holla at me.
No, he's white Mike. His
white
girl
Mike.
is hot. Yes. But anyway, I like Joe Burrow. I like his swag at LSU. I like what I just like what he's doing. So if I'm pulling for somebody, I think I'm going to be pulling for the Bengals. One also because Cameron's a big fan, and you know I kind of like that we don't know that much about them. Cincinnati, you know, I don't think they've ever won a Super Bowl. This is their third appearance, but they've never won one. And, you know, it's a blue-collar town. I've been there. I like it. I've had Skyline Chili. So I'm pulling for the Bengals. Now, my money with a 4.5-point spread, I think the Rams will win. And I think they'll win by it'll be close, but I think they'll win by more than 5 points. So I would say final score, Rams. I think it's going to be a lot more defense. You know, a lot of times we think it's going to be all these. I would say bet the under. A lot of teams in the Super Bowl, they start slow, and you'll get a lot of defense or just nerves. So I'm going to say this game is going to be probably like a 17-24 game. Rams.
Right. Okay. Well, it's my turn, and we're going to transition to some other cool stuff, like some of the coaching changes, the lawsuit that's very big news. But I'm a turncoat, Rusty. You know, I've been talking about the Rams.
Yeah.
I'm going with the Bengals. I would bet my money, and I'm pulling for them.
Okay.
Joe Burrow got sacked 9 or 10 times by the Titans. And if you look at the halftime statistics of that game, Tennessee dominated them. This is a team of destiny. And I think Joe Burrow is going to rise to the top. Mixon, Jamar Chase is going to have a great game. I think defensively, they're going to find a way. You're going to have to beat us, but it's not going to be Cooper Kupp. I like Cincinnati. It's a river town. It's a working class town. Procter & Gamble's big there. They deserve a championship. They lost to the 49ers twice. And your question of always, who would you put your money on? I put money on them. So,
Okay.
But I, you know, and I, you know, how I always rag on people for being on the fence. I would be happy for McVay. And,
you know, the thing is, I would be happy for Matthew Stafford.
Yeah, great guy.
Wouldn't be happy for. I don't like OBJ. I didn't like his antics at in New York, and so I'm not an Odell Beckham Jr. fan at all. And him getting one would just kind of irk me a little bit. But I do like a lot of the other. Aaron Donald, I love. I like Cooper Kupp. So I wouldn't be mad, and I like McVay. But hey, I got to ask you something, Sean.
Mm-hmm.
At one point, your Skins had all those coaches on the staff. So who was it? You had McVay, you had
LaFleur,
McDaniel, LaFleur, and Shanahan. And we went 3-13.
And your coach was who? They were the head coach was it who was the head coach for them under that?
I don't know. We changed every 2 years. I can't keep track.
Yeah, but was it Shanahan or were they under mostly
Gruden?
No,
Gruden.
It wasn't him yet, I don't believe. I think it was,
it was Shanahan.
Yeah. Man, that's a lot of talent, man, in terms of coaching skill and ability. Wow.
You let them all go.
Right. Yeah. So let's transition to, you know, I think, Rusty, we had a show about insecurity of coaches, and we came up with 2 or 3, and there's been a lot of coaching changes. Sean, what's your opinion on the coaching changes? Quite frankly, some of them were a surprise, and Rusty and I have been talking about. Some of them were a surprise. I mean, I didn't know that so many teams would be making a change. I mean, I know you study the NFL. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, no, I mean, the whole situation with the Vikings, I kind of felt like Zimmer was going to be out, but then to have like Harbaugh and maybe potentially bring him in and then to go for this guy, which I like Kevin O'Connell, you know what I'm saying? But that was weird to me. Obviously, like most other people, the Dolphins, you know, firing Flores was just, I don't know what they were doing. But now seeing a lot of the stuff that's coming out, obviously because of the lawsuit, you know, it wasn't healthy over there. And obviously the whole thing with Brian Daboll and Belichick, you know, getting in touch with him. So it's just interesting to see. The one I am excited about is Matt Eberflus. I'm going to the Bears and them having a new GM, a new coach. I think that could really turn things around with Justin Fields now. If they get that defense going, I'm really excited to see that one. But for the most part, I shout out to Lovie Smith. I'm glad he got there with the Texans. Hopefully we'll see.
That's a dysfunctional team, though, man. I hate to see a guy set up a failure.
That's one of the biggest things to me. We're talking about these coaching changes.
Set up for failure.
Biggest things to me is the dysfunction with so many of these organizations starting from the top down. And so you can keep, you know, playing whatever with the coaches, but that's not the problem a lot of times. It's the ownership and GMs that are in place. And I think clearly, you know, leadership with the Texans was lacking the last couple of years with Bill O'Brien. And then the GM they have now, I mean, clearly he's not getting it. And there's a lot we could say about him, his background, and how he got to where his position. But, you know, the thing that really hurt me as a Bears fan, I was not just disappointed in the coaching and them not appreciating Lovie Smith when he was let go, but I did not in any way endorse what they gave up for Khalil Mack when they already had a strong defense, and then the drafting moving up to get Trubisky. You know, and to me that was a GM thing, and then the GM, the way they did the coaches and stuff. So I the other big GM thing that really bugged me over the years is the Vikings giving all that money to Kirk Cousins, guaranteed. Like at some point, that GM should have been fired a few years ago. And
They should have gave it to Kirk Hilliard.
But why are you holding Zimmer accountable when he's a defensive coach and you bring in that guy with that contract? I'm not saying Kirk Cousins can't be effective in some ways, but you lock yourself in, you know, and you let Stephon Diggs get away. So that, like, you have to figure that out. So I'm glad a lot of these general managers are being replaced, but it's still, if you got the Washington, I want to call them the Commodores, the Commanders, with their still leadership. I'm talking about from the very top and the stuff we're hearing about Dan Snyder, the new stuff. We've always been some stuff, but with that leadership, clearly Stephen Ross in Miami, you know, look, Jacksonville, good gracious, that, you know, I don't blame Byron Leftwich for not taking that job because of the GM, and that's the reason. But then you got to question that ownership group there, and so those are the things I think we got to really look at. So are some of these people being set up to be successful? And so that would be my biggest takeaway. You can keep changing these coaches around. You know, I'm happy for Lovey and the new guy in different places, but I just think that you know, we got to start holding these owners and GMs and presidents more accountable.
Agree.
Cameron, what's your thought? You know, you're younger than us, but what's your thought? And we're going to transition, but also talk about these coaching changes. Brian Flores probably finished his career by taking that lawsuit, but there is an issue, and all you have to do is look at these coaches that have been replaced. I mean, we know it's a touchy issue, but in the last few years, we've been learning to talk about things. I mean, as a younger guy, the youth are important. I mean, what's your take on the Brian Flores and the fact that we had so many openings that we're talking about the Saints were going to hire an African-American coach, and they did not? I mean, what do you think, Cameron?
I think there is a racial reason. I think also the NFL, the way they did Kaepernick as well. I think we're now seeing with the Brian Flores lawsuit. I think we're now seeing kind of the frustration of Black coaches or owners or even players not given the opportunity to play well or go to different teams and stuff like that. So I think yes. I would say for me, I mean, I probably can't remember the last time, the NFL had this pretty much figured out as far as the ownership and the coaches and stuff like that, because I'm young. So I think overall, I think it needs to be fixed. With Miami, Brian Flores firing him and then hiring a Black coach, Mike McDaniel, I think that was, I think they should have kept him another year or two, Brian Flores.
Right. Definitely. But look, so, okay. The fact that, Mike McDaniel, yes, I guess in some way can be considered a minority hire. But to me, it's not about the fact that somebody can check a certain box in terms of being whatever percent, you have this or that. I think it's more, again, the perception that people may have or how they feel when they're around you or what they even perceive. Like, did anybody know before this? I don't know. It doesn't really matter. But, my thing is this. Let me just say this. If he's the best man for the job, that's fine. I want to see more African Americans, Latinos, Asian, whatever, progress and get opportunities. The fact that New Orleans, if they say they're going to hire an African American, I don't want to hear that. I want you to pick the best, and to pick the best candidate, you got to interview a lot. You can't just say Rooney Rule. We're going to bring in one. We're going to bring in two. Bring in a lot. Like we're there. We're intelligent. what we do is we go with what we're comfortable with, and look, it's all, a lot of times it's just networking. So I don't want, if we're good with one black head coach because he's the best and nobody else is qualified, I'm fine. But we know that's not the case. We know there are a lot of intelligent, great coaches out there, and we want to see them get those opportunities and then get a second opportunity. Because what we're having to do, and I'm gonna let you go, Kirk, is when we do take a job, we're taking these horrible jobs, and then saying, well, look, so look at Flores that first year, what the Dolphins were asking to do. And then even look at the Texans coach from last year. Like, why did he get fired? Why? And then you bring in Lovey?
Yeah. Well, you get into all this social controversy, which we don't want to spend a lot of time on, quotas, EEOC, etc. But look, I would love to have Todd Bowles as the WFT Brickhouse Commodores Commanders coach, and it has nothing to do with the color of his skin. I mean, he's I cannot believe he didn't get a coaching job this year. And there's something wrong, and it's got to be fixed. And honestly, I think the world is tired of arguing, but with the percentage of people of color in the league rising up, general managers, all kinds of different positions, it's unacceptable with the way we are. And I would love to have Todd Bowles. I think Byron Leftwich is ready. I thought Bowles would get a job last year, and Eric Bieniemy is another guy that should be there. And quite frankly, there's some coaches that should be fired that aren't be fired, but hopefully this is something that will be fixed. But I tell you what, it ain't going to happen overnight.
No. So look, what we're going to go ahead on and wrap this up. Great discussion tonight, guys. We're going to have you back on so that we can then look at how our predictions are kind of played out. Last thing I do want to touch on is this. Quickly, just your thoughts for who you think deserves. You can tell me who's going to win, but also who do you think deserves Player of the Year and Coach of the Year? And you can also evenly touch on Rookie of the Year if you like.
Cameron.
We'll start with you, Cam.
Rock on.
All right. I'm going to go with the Houday for the coach. Zach Taylor. For the Coach of the Year. Yeah.
Because nobody
win or lose the Super Bowl, he's the Coach of the Year, I say.
Yeah.
And then what was the other one? The Player of the Year?
MVP. Yeah.
Okay. The other day I looked, there were three, Cooper Kupp, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady. Tom Brady just retired. I would say Cooper Kupp.
Okay.
I like that.
I like that, Cam. And I'll tell you why. I'll let you go first. Go next, Sean, but I'll tell you why in a second.
No, you want to go? Yeah. So as far as Coach of the Year, I'm going to go Mike Tomlin. He did not have an O-line. He had a severe old quarterback that was pushing the ball out there. And, Juju was out early. His defense was hurt. And for him to get it into, get them to the last week, get them to a shot at the playoffs and get in the playoffs, I thought that was remarkable. I mean, speaking of black coaches, I'm glad we should definitely give him his love. MVP, I would love it to be Cooper Kupp, but it's never been receiver, so I don't think it's going to. I think they give it to Tom Brady, just because he had the most passing yards this year, and it was his last year. And since he's not going out with a ring, we all kind of expected him to do, then why not give him this one? Because I can't give it to Rodgers, but I can see it going to him, but I think Tom Brady. And Rookie of the Year, it's between Jamar Chase and Micah Parsons. I hate to say Micah Parsons but he just changed that whole defense around.
Yeah, and absolutely. Yeah.
So that's
Kurt?
I'm actually going to go Shanahan and the 49ers because he turned that team around. He could be in the Super Bowl. They were talking about firing him for 6-7 weeks. Sean, I'm a copycat. I'm right there with you. I believe it should be Cooper Kupp. I think it's probably gonna be Tom Brady. I think our guy in Green Bay, he just he's been a little too controversial. Kupp should win it. Don't be surprised if Tom Brady gets it. I think Jamar Chase is going to win Rookie of the Year.
Okay. So for me,
I'm sorry. Hudson, the most important one. I'm sorry, buddy.
I'm going to go easy. So I like what Cameron did. To me, the NFL MVP has gone too much like the Heisman Trophy, and we're just giving it to quarterbacks. So I'm going to go off the board as well, and I think Jonathan Taylor rushing for 1,800 yards. In this the way the system is now, scoring 18 touchdowns. He's my MVP. Now the team didn't advance, to the playoffs like they should have, but I think he still played a major role in terms of, their success with his running ability and the way they're able to move the ball. So Jonathan Taylor to me is my MVP. In this age, it's hard to get 2,000 yards, but he could have possibly done it, and he rushed for almost 600 yards more than the next person on the list. All right, and then Rookie of the Year, I'm going to go with the rookie for the Cleveland Browns, middle linebacker out of Notre Dame, Jeremiah O, because he went to Bethel High School.
Okay.
All right. He wore that green and gold. So and he balled out. No, legitimately. If it wasn't
he's
for
good, but he's not going to get.
If it wasn't for Mike, he would have been the defensive. I think the defensive Rookie of the Year. And so I'm going to say, dealing with the just being in Cleveland, I got to give it to him. This dysfunction there, and he's still balled out.
So Rusty, transitioning to closing, Sean has a great platform on YouTube and Facebook called Let's Talk Football. Join that group, and Sean's got 5 or 6 a week. By the way, we know the NFL caters to women. He has a all women night, and please tune in. We're going to put his stuff where you could find him. And then for the Kirk and Byrd show, we're the Kirk and Byrd show on YouTube. We're at the Kirk and Byrd on Twitter. And please subscribe so you'll get new videos. We got some exciting shows coming up, very exciting shows coming up. And, I'm looking to the Bengals bringing that trophy back to Cincinnati on Sunday. And Cameron, thank you. We love the expertise, like an encyclopedia.
Thank you guys for having me.
Yeah. And Sean, we want to get as many people to watch your show as possible. And there's a lot of people out here talking. Some of them, you could watch paint dry on a wall. Hey, we're having fun, and this has been a good segment. Rusty, you got anything you want to close with?
Yeah, I just want to say we're going to put these predictions on Twitter. We want to see you guys vote and support, my predictions for the game because you want to be right. All right. And again, you guys, awesome guests. Your stuff. We appreciate it, and let's just have fun. I'm really looking forward to Sunday. Oh, one last thing. We had it as a topic to potentially discuss, but it wasn't even worth discussing. And that is the NFL Pro Bowl.
Joke.
Just cut it.
Yep.
Final word. Cut it or make it a flag football game.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Make it a flag football game with celebrities.
Yeah.
Have Kim Kardashian at wideout. Something like that.
Or bring Sean, bring back my old flag football team that you were a part of, and let's go against a bunch of retired players. And I
still got the battle score.
Still got it right. I think the year you were out there, I don't know if you stayed. I don't know if that was 05 or 06, but we won that championship in 06. But I don't think you were able to stay on the team that season. But anyway, that's Get rid of the Pro Bowl.
I came home and Cheryl Spencer, my mom, saw that cut, and she said, "You got that in flag football? No, you're not going."
Now, let's move the Pro Bowl to Vegas, and let's make it like the Pebble Beach. We just had it last weekend. Let's make it a pro-am. We get Little John throws a touchdown pass to like Kim Kardashian, and we have a great Aaron Donald covering her. But hey, there's been a lot of fun.
Great job.
Check out Sean's platforms on Let's Talk Football, which is Facebook, as well as it's getting late here, YouTube, and Kirk and Byrd Show. A lot of good stuff coming out. We're bringing it out, and hey, I'm looking forward to Sunday. We've had some bad Super Bowls. Remember, we've had some good ones, but remember the blowouts? This is not going to happen. This is going to be a good one. All right?
Yeah, it's gonna be a good one. Yep.
All right. Good stuff.
Right.
Thanks, guys.
All right.
Kirk and Byrd, we are out.